I say this a lot, but there are really a lot of misunderstandings held around manifestation. And one of the ones that I see that is really common is the concept of how you should act to feel abundant. I see these creators pretty much telling you spend your last $20 on crack because you don't want to hold on to money. You got to let it go and all this nonsense. Like for what? Like why do you have to spend your money to feel abundant? Like that isn't. Now, yes, you want to assess if you are holding on to money too tightly and if there are things that you could be purchasing that might better yourself, or if you could be buying something when you're just being a little stingy. But if you're on your last $20 and you know you need that shit and you know you're going to stress your ass out, don't spend it trying to be abundant. Please don't do that to yourself. Don't do it. Hope for some miracle. And while you can manifest anything, there are plenty of people who've proven that you can, spend your last 20 and then it'll come back in whatever way. It's just not needed, especially if it's going to stress you out and make you more anxious and then put your nervous system into like overdrive while you're waiting for that money to come back. Don't do it to yourself. There is no one size fits all. So if you feel more abundant and safe by saving that $20 until your paycheck, then that's just as resourceful. Part of being abundant is using your resources wisely and knowing how to use them to the best of your ability, like using what you have within your means. Like if you decided that you have $1,000 and you felt as if you went to, Dunkin' Donuts instead of Starbucks, you got like a $2 coffee instead of the $5 coffee, and that made you feel more abundant, then that's what made you feel more abundant. You don't have to spend $500 just to prove to the universe or to yourself or whatever else that you're abundant and it's gonna come back to you and whatever the fuck it is. Like if that's the case, then the money can just come to me while I have the $1,000 as it is. Why should I have to spend it for it to come back to me? It should be able to just come to me regardless. And if anything, many times, especially since we are human and we tend to pay attention to the physical, whether we want to or not, you actually having that money in your account might actually be the path to bringing more abundance in. Maybe you feel more secure and more safe, and you're not in the struggle or the survival mode that having a less amount of money would provide. So because of that fact, you're able to be more open and receptive and you feel more calm versus spending that $20 and then trying to figure out where it's going to come back or how it's going to come back and then sitting there having to affirm that it's going to come back to begin with. You might as well just, before it even gets to that point, just be affirming that you're going to make money or money's just flowing in and you don't even have to worry about getting to that point, like in that exact same breath. But again, if that's what works well for you, and that's kind of like how you get your mind to work or draw in abundance or manifestations, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But to say that, it's a lack mindset to then approach certain situations any other way is simply misinformation and incorrect. Now, of course, you always want to continue to assess your relationship to money and try your best to not feel stressed out whenever you're buying things and to get your mind to feel safe as you're doing these things. Because sometimes even as I buy groceries for myself, it triggers anxiety because I can be spending like 50, 60, $70 and I'm like, oh my God, that's like a big chunk of like whatever I have left. But sometimes it's just a matter of persisting, being patient with yourself because you might have a lot of programs, especially a lot of us, because a lot of us are in the pits of capitalism. We're not exactly rich. So a lot of us are really having to navigate through a certain level of resources that we have. And it's really just a matter of doing what you can to keep your nervous system regulated and to be open to receiving. You don't necessarily have to force your nervous system into fight or flight in order to force a manifestation. If anything, I would work on trying to, while you have the money and while you feel abundant, tapping into that feeling and then seeing how you can draw more in before you spend it, if anything. But I mean, again, it really doesn't matter. It's not a one size fits all. You could do that, this, or everything in between. It really is just whatever works for you. But either way, peace and blessings, and I hope you guys have a great day.